Bonjour everyone, I am Anne-Lise Cailliez and welcome to Parlez-vous CEO, where we teach the corporate talk and get real about entrepreneurship. Each week, I chat with founders and CEOs who build businesses their way, through the failures, pivots, and breakthroughs. And they bring the fire. Plus, I'll drop some golden nuggets of wisdom from my own entrepreneurial journey. This is your space to grow, learn, and evolve with a true growth mindset. Remember, success isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. Now let's kick things off and get this party started. Hello, bonjour, bonjour, hello, and welcome to another episode of Parlez-vous CEO. My name is Anne-Lise Cailliez, and I am your host. For those who are just joining the podcast, we're Brandora, and we help real estate companies scale their revenue. If you're interested in learning how to grow your business and need a free growth consultation, just drop the word growth in the DMs, and we read all the DMs. Today, I'm super excited. We have a very special guest from New York. I'm also from New York, so we love New Yorkers here. I'm with Kimberly Brown today. Kimberly is an architect, and she has an amazing story. Kimberly, in your own words, would you share a little bit about your background and your story with our listeners?
Sure. I currently run an international architecture firm located in New York City, but I'm from Mississippi, a very small place. And interesting, I was speaking with Anne-Lise earlier. After I was working in New York City for a number of years, I was invited to teach back in Mississippi. So I went back and taught there and ran a nonprofit architecture firm for the university, for Mississippi State University. It's called the Fred E. Carl Jr. Small Town Center. And it really focused on town planning and affordable housing, worker housing. And also we focused a lot on what to do with bypasses. A lot of small towns have amazing downtowns, but when bypasses come through, they avoid the town center. And so we did quite a bit of research, just really talking about the value of design in towns and how if towns are going to get a bypass, how to kind of be able to let them spark and have their own energy and emotion. A lot of fun.
So how did you come about to start your own company? You were working for this nonprofit. What were the steps afterwards that led you to start your own firm?
Oh, sure. After the nonprofit, I moved to New York City and was working with a few for-profit firms. A lot of them had a lot of development aspects to the work. And I think I just realized that while sitting in a chair in someone else's office at the end of the day, having dinner, because you're working late hours, you just realize like, wait a minute, I'm the one who has all these abilities. It makes more sense to, be in control of the projects and being able to get projects. The nonprofit was great because it really gave a chance to realize like, oh, it was like running an office under the guise of the university. So it let me know like, oh, I'm actually really good at raising money and there's not a lack of projects. So people always need designers and voices. So I think that's probably why I was able to start it.
So tell a little bit of listeners more about this decision to go by yourself really and start your own company. How were your friends? How was your family? Were people around you supportive and saying, let's go? Or what kind of feedback did you get when you wanted to start your own business?
Sure. And even in the beginning, I had 3 other business partners, and then that kind of dwindled to 1 business partner, and we were together for 7 years and had a successful business. But then the 2 of us just really realized that our schedule and and the work that we brought in was just different. So, and our employees very much were also interested in kind of the next thing. So I think that kind of led us to separating, and then Kimberly Brown Architecture was born in 2019.
You mentioned 4 partners. You started with 4 partners.
Yeah.
How did you find them? What were you looking for? Like, how did you know who you wanted to work with?
Sure. 2 of them were from grad school. I went to graduate school at Yale in New Haven, Connecticut. And so 2 of them had been classmates. And one of them was a friend that just kind of had this incredible creative energy. She was actually also did a lot of fashion work. And the 4 of us together, it was just excellent. It was just such a great kind of fit for our creativity and being able to balance ideas. However, when it came to like big systems together and actually doing the work, it was one of those things we probably should have, looking back, done a lot more of our like strategic plan together and A lot of it was kind of separated out amongst us. And I think if we had all been together, I still believe in the idea of that company and the possibilities that we could have really gone far with. But I think we just needed, yeah, we probably just needed a coach and to coach us all together,
Right, because
unfortunately.
four is a lot of people. So I was really curious as to how did you decide like who does what? Plus, you had probably three of you at least had similar profiles because you were coming from the same school. So maybe overlap of skills and traits of personality. Maybe then you all end up maybe doing the same thing in the business. And let's say you're working on implementation, right? Your architecture and you're working on delivery. Who is doing business dev? Is there one of you that's really good with client management? That's why I was like, well, four, that's a lot of people that have to come together and
Right.
also make decisions. Or you're four people, who is the final decision maker, right?
That hard thing of like, steering with more people. It's hard.
Yeah.
It is definitely hard. Yeah. As much as we grow now, it's interesting how, yeah, conversation and collaboration is just kind of the name of the game. That's, everything, every success is because we're able to kind of like spell out
Mhm.
why and really, really have thoughtful conversations and systems set up to make it happen where we didn't back then.
Right. Right. No, absolutely. Exactly what you're saying in the beginning. You don't know what you don't know. And it's a great idea to have coach and mentors. Ideal if you can have some mentors or people who've built what you've built before. But if not, coaches. I waited 7 or 8 years before hiring a coach. I didn't it even cross my mind before. I don't know why. I was just in the grind, just doing everything by myself. And no, it was difficult because you have staff, but it's staff is not the same. So I think it is really important when starting a business to have allies and people you can trust that can keep you accountable, consistent, and also lift you up when you're a bit in the gutter because that's gonna happen
It
when you
does
start a
happen.
business.
I like to pretend it doesn't, but it does.
Yeah, no, it's I mean having a business is rough, especially in the first few years. And so now that you're established, what would you say you're spending your time on as an owner? What is the portion that you're spending on business development, for instance, versus delivery?
Sure. Hmm. I would say, I think business development really went by the wayside for me during COVID. And incredibly, we had 100% were referral projects. So we were really quite lucky during COVID. But I think now I'd probably say it's more like 60 business development and 40 working on projects.
And so, was it hard for you, or were you a natural at doing sales and relationships? Or did you feel like completely different set of skills that you had to learn?
Definitely in relationships is just, I'm a natural. I love connecting with people and I love listening to people. I love just hearing people and just kind of, I have this odd ability to stay in touch with people. When it comes to sales though, no, I had to get a coach. I didn't, yeah, same. I think that's funny. I didn't know I needed one. And fortunately one showed up at the right time, but it was really pretty funny.
Really?
Just that kind of like the necessity of like selling. And I think even still, I just don't really like selling, but I'm definitely one to stay in people's minds and I like to just have conversations with people. So if I can throw in, what services we offer and how we can help, then that however I can do it where it's more natural. Just for not in the mood to be like, hey, buy our services.
I completely understand you. I've had my business for 10 years, and I wouldn't say that I love sales. I love meeting people. I love building relationships, nurturing relationships. I'm very curious. I want to know everything about everything. But sales is, I feel, is just a different animal. You can be very likable. It doesn't always translate into signing deals. So I feel it's definitely skills that people need to learn when they have their own business because most often, especially in the beginning, you're going to be representing your company. How did you find your sales coach?
Yeah, she was a friend and she just happened to be going out on her own and she had done like a lot of conference type of work and she had it, but it was just fascinating. What's the name? She had a great name of it at the time. Like Irresistible Requests or something was the
Mhm.
name that she had. And it was true. You just wanted to come up with the most absurd things you wanted to request from people and you would get them. And same thing with absurd amounts of money, but it was great. It works. But it's just getting that confidence up of how to, and that muscle, because I just wasn't,
Mhm.
that muscle wasn't there.
Yeah, and doing the reps. And what advice would you have for women entrepreneurs? Because I feel this is a recurring theme when I'm speaking with women versus men. When it comes to sales, a lot of women don't want to do sales. So what would you recommend someone who is starting a business, like say an architect who is starting a business in regards to sell? Would you say hire a coach or just buckle up and do the reps and it's going to work out?
I think a coach was great. Definitely, it just got me out of my comfort zone. So I think it was incredible. It also just got where, you know, now I'm just able to kind of talk through what we do. But back then, I think I was just kind of like deer in headlights and really scared. I would definitely say a coach, but other things I think is just kind of brainstorm with, really think about the type of work you want to do and think about who your top client that you want and kind of go after it that way. Just kind of think
Absolutely.
through slowly and dissect it.
Absolutely. I think clarity on who's your ideal client can change all of the marketing materials and strategy that you have, because then you really know how to talk to the person you want to be working with. And you're also like faster at vetting who you don't want to be working with as well.
I think we're
So
still
just,
slow at learning that sometimes,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
but we're getting better.
Yeah. For me, for instance, that's something that I've understood throughout the years. I want to work with people who are very aggressive with their goals. So they haven't figured it out, and that's okay. But they know they need to do something if they want to take their business to the next level. And they have very much a growth mindset. So they're ready to do the work. They're ready to go on stage. They're ready to go on camera. Even they're scared to do it. It's an uncomfortable exercise, but they're willing to try. And that's what I like. I like I like a brave client.
How marvelous. Sure. That's excellent.
Do you have a story that you want to share with our listeners about one of your first clients?
Let's see. I think, some of the beginning ones, we were doing huge projects, international projects, our first couple of years. We were huge international, well, but the problem there was we were accepting really low fees. So it was just kind of this like we were getting these dream projects that were going to get built, but it just meant that it was such a slog just to do work without getting the compensation required to like
Right.
so then we're also um you know that trickles down to so many other things, like not just not paying yourself, but also like you're not getting any PR, and then you're not so it's just you're constantly we were with really tight deadlines, and obviously different work hours, than the client. Yeah, it's very stressful.
Mm.
So, we delivered some phenomenal projects. Whew. And looking back,
Hmm.
there were decisions that were made. We just needed clients. So that's why we did what we did.
And how many years did you feel that you had to do that, like take on clients, lower fee, but to get either the prestige, the credibility, and also build out your internal processes, just getting your
Yeah.
feet wet, right?
Yeah. I think we're just now getting there. So 12 years later. No, surely it was sooner than that.
I mean, I always feel that I'm always like, oh, I get it now. Every year I'm like, no, but this year, that's 10 years that I'm like, I think I just understood now. Do you know Marie Forleo?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, she said that she started to figure it out after 10 years, you know?
I'm gonna say, I think just now we know like this is we're getting there. It's a work in progress.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And out of all the years that you've had your own business, what were, according to you, the best and the worst marketing that you've done?
Oof. I think just that we're just not doing enough marketing still. I think we still need to be really spending time. I think we're just so much of our work, we're client focused, and we so want the voice of the client to show up in the project, and we want the experience to be incredibly good. And so I think we're so spent on that and creating that end goal that then by the time we're done, we're already on to the next project. A lot of
Right.
times I don't think we really get that moment to kind of go like, oh, let's exhale and let's show other people what we've just done. I think that's
Right.
something that we'll get to, but it's interesting.
Absolutely. It's really hard to work on the business and not get caught up working in the business? Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs are also perfectionists, right? You want the perfect delivery, the perfect client relationship, and that's what in the forefront. So marketing is always like, yeah, later when I have time.
Yeah.
But when do we ever have time? I
Yeah.
completely understand.
And we've just, again, been so lucky from referral business. And we've been incredibly, and repeat business. So, yeah. So the marketing won't be
That's
the new
amazing.
thing. That's the new one.
And if you had one magic wand to help solve a big challenge in the business, what would it be?
I think when it comes to that communication and systems, it's something that we care quite a bit about. That we are actually going to start outsourcing part of that to another company that just has their focus is just on that, whereas ours is on client relations. And so I think we're going to, that magic wand, I think, is pretty much what we're implementing now, which is just kind of like stretching ourselves and working with a firm that does it quite well that will be
Mm-hmm.
that we'll be collaborating with. So that's kind of one way we're doing it.
Ah, that's it.
Yeah. So it's that kind of almost outsourcing of just the brain that is able to just really focus on project delivery that we don't have time
Mm.
for.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Yeah, I think another magic wand I think would just be we're very excited about the possibility for getting more voices into projects and into the built world. And so we're also very excited about getting together the idea of maybe a fund or working with a team that can put a fund together that can help raise capital for people who are interested in doing development work. So maybe, women, people of color that maybe aren't the typical big names that built the big buildings here in town or in the world. And once a building is built and is marketed, that building starts making money. People are able to sell the apartments. Then people have the capital that can then pay for design services. It's just that our design services have to be at the forefront. So we're talking now with someone who puts together funds, and so they're trying to say that's the companies that can do the development. Since it's an easy loan because they're definitely going to do the work and get paid, but they need to do the creative side on the front, trying to do funds. And again, just that's so exciting because then thinking of the voices that otherwise might not invest in architecture or in town planning or urban life now could get their voice in because the loan will be a different type of loan. So it's exciting.
Oh, it is super exciting. I love hearing
Access.
that. I mean, it's called access.
Oh no, I just said access. It's giving people access is
Okay.
kind of what it's doing. As well as, it's also just minds. It's kind of thinking of, you think of kind of like the big New York City developers and they're just so, those companies are really working on tight margins and they're just wanting to make more and more and more and more and more money. But if you think of, potentially a group of women investors, like maybe they want to also use some of the profit. Everyone makes money, but maybe a percentage of the profit could then go towards housing for single mothers or childcare or, like that there can be that everyone who invests can again make a percentage and make money, but then that the collective can also create something that wouldn't have happened maybe without that collective being together. So there's just kind of like, it's just the idea of community and the idea of being able to do more than is otherwise possible, I think is exciting.
So exciting. Music to my ears, what you're talking about. Talking about female-led and a female-led fund, you're part of a women-led real estate fund, right?
Oh, yes, I'm on their board of advisors.
Right.
Yes.
Can you tell our listeners a bit more about that?
Yes. That is a company run by a woman, Divya Tandon in Buffalo, and she's raising her first $50 million fund. She is focused on doing building um, residences for workers, which I think is just, everyone, it's not a right in our country, but it seems like it should be just everyone be able to have a house. And she likes to take existing properties oftentimes and take C and D level properties that are a bit run down and bring them up to B level properties. So it's just exciting to think of, a neighborhood that um, might be run down just from upkeep. And it's something so simple, paint and, small things can just and good management, which she has. And that's the way to kind of bring things up. And then she's able to then, reinvest her money and buy more. So it's pretty exciting.
It is exciting. And what is her name?
Yeah, Divya Tandon.
Mm.
And she and I are then, she's also working with our team on doing some new builds. So we're excited about doing some new builds and just the grant money that's possible and available to put worker housing. Right now we're looking at in the States, but she is also does her investments are international. It's exciting.
For the people who are listening, if they're interested in investing in either of these funds, either the one in New York or the one in Buffalo, what is the profile of the investors that you're looking for?
Great question. I am more on the advisory side than the actual one that she is, but I can get the information so that we can have it as a link.
That
This
sounds good.
podcast. Sure. Very exciting.
Kimberly, if you were to meet your 20-year-old self, so what would you tell yourself if you were to meet mini Kimberly Brown?
Continue being fearless. I think I was fearless back then. I never once thought that I wouldn't open a firm. And I think if I could just, yeah, to have allowed myself the comfort to maybe not have the anxiety that it's all going to work out. Pretty amazing.
So you would say, be fearless or stay fearless?
As I was
Stay
fearless, I
fearless.
always knew I would have my own firm, but I think at that time it still seemed far away. But yeah, I would say stay fearless.
How would you explain that you've been fearless? I'm always very envious of people who are fearless. Tell me how that comes. Is it environment? Is it family, parents? Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, I think it was our parents. My parents were really great at somehow giving us some sort of a foundation of just that they had our backs or something. Just my dad is an industrial engineer and read quite a number of self-help books. I think we always thought it was kind of strange that he had self-help books, but then when you realize if you're building a plant and designing a space for an industry to build, it's people. You got to have people being really happy and in a great mindset to be able to actually anything, to produce anything in that plant. So I think that was kind of the basis there. And then I'd say my mother's level was probably just in the interest of people. She just was always kind of bringing in different groups of people, especially international students at our, I lived in a university town. And so we always just had guests from other places. I was always learning about other countries and, having lovely gifts that people would bring and just learning about other people. So I think that was probably the impetus there.
That creates an openness, and that's probably why also you lived abroad, like multiple countries. That's probably why also you had that curiosity and also that comfort with the outside world that makes you like a really open entrepreneur. And if you had some golden nuggets of wisdom to share with an architect who is about to start his or her own company, what would you tell them? What would you warn them about? Think twice.
Measure twice, cut once. I think it's learn how to listen, just learn how to get out of your own head. I think so much of our success is truly just because we put our ego away and we hear what the client needs, and then we find ways to design for that rather than design what we want or what we think is right. We're just constantly listening, and I think that mindset just takes a while to get. But I think that's a great one.
Absolutely. I think it's a great piece of advice. And I think there are similarities in the world of marketing. I see a lot of marketers who are trying to force specific marketing channels onto their clients because they're familiar with certain channels instead of listening to what the clients wants, the vision, their motivation, and then only coming up with a plan. The plan is going to be very different if you have an owner who wants to grow really fast in 1 year, in 5 years, who wants to retire, or who wants to work part-time. The plan is not going to be the same. The marketing is not going to be the same. There's no point in trying to fit people into, what's the saying, a square into a round. Yeah,
Definitely.
so I'm really bad at using local idioms. So
I thought it was
sometimes
fine. That was a good one.
I'm like, is it apple and the oranges?
Exactly. What is it? My funny elbow or something.
And so, Kimberly, what's coming up next for you? What's the one thing you want to achieve for your biz in the next year?
Sure. We're excited about designing more gathering spaces. We design restaurants and a lot of hospitality spaces and hotels, and we are thrilled with the idea of getting into stadium designs and outdoor theaters and just places for people to gather. So places for community to come together. And so, yeah, we're looking at now that there are a lot of like women's sports is on the forefront. We're excited to think about like how sports stadiums could be different when we're watching women play and just the possibilities there of, yeah, again, different voices.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That's exciting. That's going to be a fun chapter. And Kimberly, where can people find you?
Sure. Our office email is info@kba-nyc.com, and our website is kba-.
Thank you so much for being a guest on the show today, Kimberly. It was a pleasure having you.
So much fun. Thanks so much. I appreciate it, Anne-Lise.
And that wraps up today's episode on Parlez-vous CEO and our special real estate series with female leaders. I am Anne-Lise Cailliez, and I can't wait to join you again next week. Thanks for listening to Parlez-vous CEO today. If you enjoyed the show, leave a 5-star review. It helps us keep going. And connect with us on Instagram at Parlez-vous CEO. I am Anne-Lise Cailliez, and I know some days are harder than others. On those tough days, think back to why you started. What you're doing today matters, even when you can't see the results yet. Ideas are great, but it's what you do with them that counts. Find everything we talked about today at parlezvousceo.com. See you next week, and you've got this.